Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Deals podcast. I'm your host, Gabrielle Simmons. I'm here today with Shantelle, and she is an amazing woman who does so many different things. I love having all the badass ladies here on the podcast with me. Before I get into a full introduction of Shantelle, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Builders Outlet. Builders Outlet is your go-to for windows, doors, cabinets, and trim. They are located in Denver, Colorado, and you can check them out by going to buildersoutletco.com. All right, now that hard part's out of the way.
You did it.
I'm always like, gosh, this sponsor thing. It's because it's scripted, you know, like I have to remember that.
Right.
And I like the free flow, you know. Okay, so Shantelle, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So you actually came and sponsored one of our tables.
I did.
At our first Real Estate Deal Makers Mixer.
Yes, it was awesome.
Yeah. How was the turnout?
It was great. I was actually really shocked at how engaged everyone was and how many conversations were happening and people were just really genuine, which I think you didn't feel that like pretentiousness that sometimes comes with mixers and people trying that.
Real estate in general.
And real estate in general, yes. It was really cool to just see people being genuine with trying to make connections. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing me to sponsor.
Of course, of course. So give us a full rundown. Who is Shantelle and what do you currently do? Then we're going to get into some of your story, your journey of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, not necessarily work related, but the first thing I would always say I am is a mom. So I'm a mom of 4, married to an amazing man that is also in real estate. So we get to duke it out sometimes.
As a power couple.
That's right. That's right. We have to sometimes, if we're ever negotiating on a deal, it gets pretty hairy because we like to win, both of us. So I do traditional real estate residential. I also own a staging business, so that has coalesced with my residential real estate as well, but I have other agents as well. I do so many things. I have a title license. I have a life insurance license. I do a coaching program for agents. I have a podcast on hiatus right now. But I have a lot of different things, but it's all related to real estate. Once I got into the real estate realm, I kind of just got the bug and you kind of figure out all the things you're interested in and how to hopefully help other people and monetize it too.
Yeah. No doubt, no doubt. I love that you started the staging company.
Yeah.
I know that's, how many years have you been doing that now?
It's been about 2.5 now.
Okay.
But it wasn't intended to be a company. Actually, when I started it, it was just wanting to do my own staging for my own listings. I was kind of having a problem with having somebody who was consistently reliable or was in the price realm of what I thought was fair or was taking care. I had a couple issues with stagers that just weren't really kind to clients or, just weird little things.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me just invest some money. I had a friend that, was passionate about staging and wanted to do those things. And I figured we could start something small and just kind of take that overhead off of our list from listings. And then people started asking about it. And they were like, oh, who did the staging? And I'm like, oh, wait, no, would you do our staging? And I'm like, sure. So it grew pretty organically, which is nice. So there wasn't a lot of overhead up front. But I mean, we definitely took on, I think in real estate, if you have the guts to just try things, I'm very much a creature of habit. And so I've been a little intimidated by things in the beginning. My husband's a true entrepreneur. He's like balls to the wall, gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And so I had to take a little bit of time to make sure that I really wanted to do it. But it's actually been a really great business for us. And I love working with other agents and seeing their houses sell quickly.
Yeah.
And helping with that.
I love it. I love it. And so do you do all of the staging yourself?
So I do a lot of it myself. I'm trying to kind of phase into being leverage and being a true business owner. So I have a partner. His name is Lee. He makes everything look beautiful. And so he's now starting to take over running it in its entirety.
Nice. Yes. But isn't it so fun to pick out all of the furnishings and the curtains and
fun.
Do you do curtains?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on the place. We do whatever needs to be done in order to make it look its best. And sometimes a normal bare window is best. But I love all the different aesthetics of mid-mods and moderns and all these different things, and we get to play. And so maybe something I wouldn't use in my house, but I get to go play somewhere else and not have to feel like I'm committing to it, which is nice.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of the interior designing and furnishing, mostly for midterm rentals.
Yeah.
Like the month to month.
Yes.
And that's always my favorite part. Is just like
So fun.
I create like a cool little mood board with like the colors, whatever we're going for, depending on where it's located. Like in Pueblo, I'll do more like oranges and like pull in that like Adobe style.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then going and buying everything. You know,
Oh, it's so fun. Shopping is just fun, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, I get to shop and it's like a business thing. You know, I get to kind of get your wiggles out with that, which is really nice. But what's crazy too is then we started doing interior design. And so we've been helping some of the developers because no offense to developers, but sometimes they have really good taste, but they don't know how to put everything together. So sometimes you walk a house and you're like, this tile doesn't really go with this sink and this doesn't, you know, so we've started helping with that as well. But yeah, the design aesthetic is really fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Tell us more about your podcast. You said you're kind of on a hiatus with it right now.
I don't know how much I want to get to that, but I will say that, you know, you just have, I started with a partner and, you know, sometimes you realize that maybe you don't have the same vision. So you learn things with businesses and what you're doing. And so I'm kind of just deciding what direction I want to take everything. I did love the podcast. I love talking to people and getting to know them and understanding what makes them tick. But I also realized I need to make sure I'm aligning with everybody on the same wavelength.
Yeah, no doubt. So you think maybe you'll get into your own podcast?
I do. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know if I would enjoy it. I know I love talking. I was the kid that had to sit in the hallway all the time because I was talking to everybody.
Not doing your school?
Not doing my schoolwork and talking, by the way. I was like multitasking. I got my schoolwork done really fast so I could talk the whole rest of class. But I didn't realize how much I would just enjoy like that interaction and just the networking piece of getting to know people on a deeper level.
Yeah, no doubt. Same with like this podcast. You know, like initially I was like, what? I don't know that I want to do a podcast. It feels like a big commitment.
Totally.
And then like, I mean, having the space here, like at my office, it makes it so
it's right here.
Yeah, but now I'm like, I love it. Like I look forward to coming in and just chatting with people, even people that I know already.
Right.
For years, I get an opportunity to be like, okay, let's dig in. Like, let's talk about your life. And
once you get like an hour to just like ask someone questions, it usually feels very invasive if some more coffee that you're like, tell me about your upbringing.
Yeah.
So now you get to ask anything.
Literally. Yep. So on that note, tell me about your upbringing, your life, as far back as you want to go to the day that little Shantelle was born. And all the way through, like what does your life look like and how has your life directed you towards getting into real estate?
Great question. Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because up to a certain point in life, it's almost like talking about a different person because my life was so different than what it is now. And sometimes I had to take inventory and realize and really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I grew up with two addict parents and, you know, not the best environment for any of us. I think they were really struggling and they were really young. And so they just couldn't really be there. I just met with a guy right before I came here and he does it's called Sober Dads. And it's just a way to help these guys who are trying to become better fathers as their sobriety is progressing.
Wow.
And I was like, the reason I'm passionate about that is because my dad never got sober. He passed away living under a bridge when I was pregnant with my son.
Wow.
And my mom and I don't have a relationship. I left him when I was 12, kind of was a nomad.
Wow.
Didn't graduate high school. And I always worked. Like since I was a kid, I just hustled because I knew I didn't want that life.
Yeah.
But it's crazy now. You know, as a little bit older mom, I had my kids a little older. Didn't really want to get married. My husband hates when I say that. You're like, oh, right. I was going to be a nomad and just like travel and do, you know, what I want to do and have my business focus. And now we have this family that like if you would have told younger me, I just wouldn't have believed you because you know, no family's perfect, but mine's pretty close. Like it's pretty awesome. And we just have this really great environment. And so I always worked in, you know, I worked in retail and I started really young because that was kind of the only job I could get as a kid and worked my way up because I had no traditional education.
Right.
I had to just kind of hustle.
When you say retail, what do you mean?
Clothing.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I worked at Michael's.
That's why you're always so cute how you dress.
I do like to shop, and you know, it does pay off for certain ways. But yeah, so I did clothing retail, and I became a manager pretty early when I was a teenager and kind of just worked my way up and had a couple hundred employees when I was like 18 years old. So I worked my way through that and I really enjoyed it. And then I started training people, but I was traveling all the time. And so when I had my kids, I was like, it was fun when I was single, like when I just got to go and, have a per diem and stay in different places and hang out and go drink afterwards and all that stuff. And then when I had my kids, I realized I wanted to be home. And so I got recruited to a property management company.
Oh.
And I had never done anything other than retail for over 20 years.
Wow.
And I took it, and no offense to property managers, because I know this isn't all property management companies, but it was like the worst job I'd ever had. Like it was just a nightmare all the time. It was fires every direction all the time, super high confrontation, which I don't shy away from confrontation if needed, but it was like crazy. People were like around my office every morning waiting for me to get in to yell at me. And it's like, somebody's trapped in the elevator and someone's unit's flooding and someone just got broken into and a car just got it was just crazy chaos all the time.
Yeah.
And so I hated it. And I had these 2 young kids. And my husband was like, why don't we go get a real estate license? And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to go into a commission-only industry.
Right.
I don't want to be an entrepreneur.
It's a big jump.
I like my little paycheck and 401k. And, I liked the safety of that. Perceived safety. I was that hamster wheel. I was like, yes, I like the process.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're unhappy. And I really thought I was going to give myself a heart attack. That's how personal I took things. Like I was stressed when I had to evict somebody. I was stressed when somebody was unhappy with me. And so he said, let's go. Let's go get our real estate license. And it was during COVID.
Wow.
Just the best time ever.
And for you guys, he wanted you guys to jump at the same time.
Like cold turkey, like no jobs, no income, 4 kids, little bit of savings, like baby bit of savings.
And just go
And just go.
Real estate
And
agent.
I didn't know anything about real estate to even like set realistic expectations because I had no idea what I was doing, which, I mean, we all know real estate school teaches you nothing, just like real school sometimes.
Right.
And so I just didn't know what I was getting into. And so I was like, we have 90 days. We have 90 days to make this work, or we have to go get real jobs, at least one of us.
And what does make this work look like?
Like make some money, I guess, or like have some progression, right? What's crazy about that is if someone were to tell me that now, I'd be like, yeah, that's maybe not going to happen. Like give yourself 120 days to even see some traction.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I closed 6 transactions in 90 days.
What?
But when I tell you, it wasn't like a full-time job. It was like a triple full-time job.
Yeah.
I was like
all day, all night.
All day, all night, taking classes, calling everyone. Or not doing all these things. I had no idea what to do. Like I just was like, tell me what to do, I'll do it. Someone like, try this. I'm like, okay. I just go knock on people's doors. Let me cold call.
Wow.
Let me beg people. Let me, pretend like I know what I'm doing. It was just crazy, but it worked.
Yeah.
And then the 4th month, I closed 7 deals in 1 month and I made $97,000.
Oh.
And it took me 20 years to break 6 figures in my previous industry. And I almost did it in a month.
All of that. Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, like this is the thing, like this is going to be our thing.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I went like 6 more months without closing anything after that. I thought I was going to be like on a yacht by now. So you learn the ebb and flows and you learn the cyclical scenarios and you learn, you little
Hold on. With them safety, yeah, like
yeah, great big is, I guess you got to pay your own taxes. No, I learned all these things the hard way. Our health insurance, I mean, all of the learning lessons were so major and it was so stressful. But it was the first time that it was like good stress.
Yeah.
I read a book and it said like there's 2 different kinds of stresses. It's distress, which is bad.
Right.
Or eustress, which is good, which is like you're growing and that's the stress. It's not going backwards, it's going forward.
Yeah.
That was
like
the kind
breakthrough kind of stress.
Totally. Like if you level up, like people want this level up to be so beautiful and clean. It's like, no, it's pretty messy. Like it's every time you're growing, more money, more problems, like learning other people. You need a good CPA, you just all these things. And so April is 4 years.
Wow.
And I feel like I know things enough to function. Yeah. But he was using as a realtor. I know more than that. But I'm just saying, you just realize like you started this business, just like any entrepreneur. I think you start the business from scratch and you think it's going to be one way.
And it's totally not.
It's totally not. You're like, okay, like this is all the things I'm going to have to figure out as I go. And it's just not clean.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of it.
That's it.
And 4 years, you have, first of all, accomplished a lot in 4 years. You have become a serial entrepreneur, started multiple businesses.
Yes.
Helped many people sell and buy their homes.
Yes.
Do you have a count of how many in 4 years?
I mean, indirectly, I would say we're probably at about 80 something.
Wow.
So my husband does off-market deals, and then we do our own flips. So a lot of it is like through association too, right? Like I'm lucky enough now to know that most of my business comes from repeat business and referrals.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer like chasing after people. Now I'm just really servicing the people that come to me, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But that's all reputation building, which takes a lot of effort in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's, when nobody knows what you're doing and they're notorious for saying like, let me let you sell a couple houses first and then we'll see if you're, worthy.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit different. So now I can slowly start to take a step back and figure out like, how do I sustain this business in a way that like my husband and I can see each other sometimes.
Have a date once in a while.
Yeah. It's just been to that point now where I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of breath that I can take and I can choose things. And it was very empowering the first time I turned down a client that just wasn't right for my vibe and was telling me like, oh, this agent will do for this percent. And I'm like, that sounds like you should go with them.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to have that, I don't need your money so bad that I'm going to die and I'll do anything that you want kind of moment.
Yeah, commission breath.
Oh, God. Yes, I totally, I hate to say it. I tried to fake that I didn't have it, but I was like, whatever you need, and I still do that for clients. I still really do. I think it's a good and a bad thing that I take things very personally and very serious. So if I'm selling your home or if I'm helping you buy, I feel it to my core and I'm up at night thinking about it too. And if things are stressing you out, they're probably stressing me out. Maybe not as much, but close.
Yeah.
But I now understand a little bit more about the fact of like just taking care of people has been the thing that's helped us in our businesses, all of our multiple businesses.
Yeah. And you guys really care about people.
Totally.
That's why I've always gravitated towards you guys. Not just because you guys have great energy. You and Dominic, but you guys really care about people.
We do.
And you seek to help and to educate. That's actually how we first met. You guys reaching out to me to see about coming in to speak to your brokerage about creative financing.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's so out of the box for a real estate agent. This was before you guys were really active in your flipping and getting creative in your own deals. For you to be a real estate agent and be seeking out people to learn new different things that are outside of the box.
Yes.
And also to extend that to your entire brokerage of people that you're leading to be like, hey, here's why it's important to learn creative financing.
Just have it in your tool belt, right? Like it doesn't mean that that's what needs to be your number one MO, but it's like you're disservicing your clients by not being educated on all the different lanes that they can go into. Like we had numerous people. You were one of the first people I saw speak about these things and do these things. And we've helped numerous families that were going to lose their house or take less money or have all of these different things. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to? And I think that this is an industry filled with a lot of ego and a lot of pretentiousness and a lot of pretending. Sometimes, in the beginning, I had all these people that I like looked up to and thought they were just killing it. And then you get to know some of them and you're like, you're struggling. And some of it.
Or you're an asshole. Or you're not a good person. I don't want to be around you.
Yeah. So I think now it's like, how do you build your tool belt and how do you build the alliance with people? I love what you're doing with so many of the different, initiatives that you're focusing on because it's about building a tribe of people that you can trust and know that I take it very seriously when I refer a vendor out. I'm like, you're representing me. Right. I need you to understand, like, these relationships are lifelong for me. And I want the same. When somebody sends me a referral, I need them to know, like, even if I don't end up being the best fit for the person, I'm okay with that. I just want your person to be taken care of. So
Right.
caring about people it's interesting when it's like people being like nurses. Like, how are you mean and you're a nurse? Like, you would think, you know what I mean? It's like, these are people industries. I understand there's a lot of money to be made, but it's like, how are you not conscious of the fact that you're impacting people's life in such a huge way?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And even like how you guys go above and beyond, like, to me, that speaks to the level of care.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to see an increase in income.
Sure.
When you're offering more services and you're doing things that other agents don't do.
Yeah.
You're creating different streams of income for yourselves.
That's right.
But like even just the photography packages that you guys put together. I know Dominic listed my mom's property.
Yeah.
And like I'm looking at the photos and I'm like, holy crap, like these are amazing. Like,
You're like, we want to keep it.
yeah, like
That happens a lot. We stage it and then people are like, actually like it. I'm like, no, you have to sell it.
yeah. But again, like it just goes back to offering so many different things for people so that you can give them resources.
For sure.
Not just give yourself an increase in revenue for selling them great photography packages and staging and all these other things. You're giving them resources that actually helps them in the long run.
For sure. And that's what's interesting to me too. A lot of times it's like, there's so many great agents out there. I know so many great agents, but there are some that it's just like, they just want to stick the sign in the yard. They don't really want to go above and beyond. And it's like, even if you're just the most selfish person ever, you're costing yourself money too. Like it takes a lot of energy to do things mediocre when you can do them right and get paid. Like I want a guaranteed payday for both of us, and that's what we're agreeing upon. And so these little things do go a long way, and I think that it's huge. And yeah, we enjoy, it's only been 4 years, so hopefully we enjoy it forever. But I really do think like I enjoy seeing someone's house come together in a way that they didn't think was possible, and maybe I didn't. So there's been some listings that I'm like, ooh, this might be a rough one, and then we finish, and I'm like, it's beautiful. So it's a cool feeling to have that impact on people. Mm-hmm. I also think, in the current climate, it's important to say, like, I'm passionate about helping the underserved communities. And so I could go and list nothing but luxury properties, and that would be fine, and I'd probably make more money.
Right.
But I care about breaking people into first-generation homeownership and women that, have never bought a home on their own, and minorities, and all these different demographics of people who maybe the price point is lower, and for some people, unfortunately, they'll be treated differently. The 250 condo, people will be like, oh, they don't have the same level of service.
Yeah.
Ironically, for me, I see that as a longer loyal relationship, because if I can help you buy your next 5 properties as you level up and all your friends and teach you these things, I see that now, 4 years in, we're on our second or third transaction together because I'm teaching you how to navigate these things.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And how crazy is it that you're 4 years into real estate? 4 years ago, you were like, what the heck? Real estate? No way. Like
I was like stomachache crying, like, oh God, how is this gonna be horrible?
And then here you're talking about helping people get into real estate, even unknowingly, right? Like you're like, yeah, I'm going to help you buy your home. But you even now have a different look on real estate as a whole. Like, how can we get you investment properties? How can we help you turn this one that you're moving into to a rental and then go buy 4 or 5 more properties?
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
It's so funny sometimes when I'm like, don't sell your house. And I'm like, I know I would benefit if you sell your house, but like, put it into a rental. Let's do this again, and my daughter is 17. She turns 18 in March, and she's been doing administrative stuff for us, but she's getting her license at 18. And I'm like, we're already talking about like how early can she buy a house? And she just got accepted to DU. We just got told last night.
Amazing.
It's just so cool. I don't know many industries where you can help people and financially thrive. Yeah. It's usually a choice. It's usually like, I'm going to help the public, so I'm going to eat, last. Or I'm going to make a lot of money, so sorry, I got to step on your neck in order to do it. This is one of the only industries that I can think of where you can win big by helping other people win big. It's cozy.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
Yeah, so I love it.
That's same. That's what I love about real estate is like, for me, it's, I work a lot more on the like distressed seller side, working with people who hiring an agent to sell their house doesn't super make sense.
Right. who just need it gone and need to walk away or get a little bit of cash and move on.
Yeah. And so like helping those people, I can't tell you how many times I've cried.
Oh,
Like
I'm
just
sure.
sat with people or sat in my car after a meeting and just cry like happy tears, grateful tears that I get to be a guide of like hope for them.
Yes.
Light when they didn't see any at the end of the tunnel. And that usually comes with a decent paycheck too, right? I get to do a wholesale transaction or I get to hold it as a rental property for myself, whatever. That's great. But like the emotional fulfillment that we get from really helping people who need it and being different, like setting ourselves apart from your everyday.
Yeah.
You say you're in real estate, people are like,
Oh, yeah. They're like, please stay away from me. Yeah, it feels very vulturistic when it comes to like, especially with certain things. When you say, oh, I help people through distressed property, somebody thinks like you're trying to take advantage of somebody, right? And when you can give some grace and even the way you explain things or, do a little extra post-occupancy or help them with a little extra funds that you can kick back or do different things, help them with moving. We've done a lot of things where it's like, you're getting them their moving truck or helping them get situated with the next place. There's so many things.
Deposit on their next rental that they're going to go stay in. Like, there's so many things we can do to help.
And it's not like we're, nonprofit. We're not making a paycheck. There's not. But I think that there is a lot that you can do with that. And I heard a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but it basically said, isn't it sad that some people are so poor that all they had is money?
Yes.
I was like, that was such a good.
I didn't even know who said it.
I know. I'm like, I usually try to quote the person correctly, but close enough. But that's exactly what that is it's like the money is great. You need it, right? Like when we're in these industries that are pretty high stress and pretty up and down, and especially in the beginning, pretty volatile for you.
Yeah.
You need to be able to figure out how to sustain in order to get through it because in my side of residential real estate, 87% of agents quit within year 1 through 5, and most of them the first year.
Say that again.
87% of agents quit within year 1 through 5, most of them the first year. So 13% just success rate, of just staying in that 5 years, which ironically enough, I'm at year 4. So who knows?
You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anyway. 74% of agents didn't sell a home last year.
74%.
And if you sold over 11, you're in the 2%.
Wow.
So being in the 2%, surviving, doing all of these things, and then to say, I feel good about what I do. I can sleep at night. I know I'm helping people.
Right.
Is pretty powerful.
It is. Very powerful.
Yeah. And there's somebody, thinking about getting their license. And what I would say is like, do it, but don't underestimate that this is the hardest industry, especially in the beginning. So much competition. You have to kind of make your name. Your repetition is your reputation. You have to start to build all of those things.
Yeah.
But I could never see myself doing anything else. Somebody could offer me an insane salary and I'd be like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I've had opportunities like people, and I'm just like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Because once you do what you're passionate about and you can earn a living, if not thrive in them a little bit even, you're like, I would rather struggle and do this.
That's true.
Than go do something else.
I would work for someone else. Like I was such a loyal employee kind of person. I was like the like the teacher. My daughter was like
in 5 minutes early.
I mopped the breaker. I was just that person. I always was. I was such a sucker. But just my daughter, she's in first grade and she's just the teacher's pet. And I was that since I was a kid. I always wanted that validation. I think it had to do with not having parents at home. I needed some adult reinforcement, and that just never went away. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'd be the worst employee ever because I just do what I want. I work a ton,
Right.
but you can't tell me that I'm not going to get my hair and my nails done, or I'm not going to go buy a shirt, or it's not even fathomable.
Go to the movies in the middle of a Wednesday.
My kids are sick. We're just laying in bed all day. You know what I mean? It's just those kind of things. And we work probably double full-time hours still.
Yeah.
But it's on our terms. Dominic was up till 3 a.m. last night running wholesale deals and just figuring out things. And it's on his terms.
Yeah.
I probably slept till 11 this morning. Those are the things that we have now become appreciative of. In the beginning, it felt scary.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be? Am I doing anything that makes traction? And
Figuring out how to monetize your time. when there's not a direct exchange, right? Being an employee, your time equals money.
Yeah, you know when it's coming.
Yeah. And so now as a business owner being like, okay, how do I take my time and make it contribute to things and building that funnel where then I can make some money? Like that in itself is a whole mindset shift.
Totally. Yeah. And knowing that like you have to understand the roller coaster that is with your actions, like everything. I think, when you're a freelance or a self-employed business owner of anything else, you get paid quickly still. Meaning if you're like a tile guy and you own your own tile business, once that job is completed, still that you're going to get paid.
Right.
We're about 90 to 120 days in arrears. So what you're doing now, like when you don't have business, you got to go back 4 months and be like, oh yeah, I was screwing off. Like I wasn't doing anything. So that's kind of a hard thing for people too, because it's like, oh, I've been working so hard for the last 30 days. It's like, yeah, but it was 4 months ago that I just kicked you in the ass. And now all this isn't going to come for another 4 months. And that was a big learning for us, was like, you can't take your foot so far off the gas that you come to a screeching halt and you're on E and you're panicking. Because we had some of those times, we had made a ton of money where you're like, I made more than I
like, oh, I'm good. I'm chilling. Like,
and you're like, good food. Especially we're food people. So that's probably all we do is eat our money. But yeah, you start to realize like you have to be careful. You can get
having consistency. Yeah. So tell me about the mindset. Like I know we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but to go from where you came from, there's a lot of grit that's required, right? There's a lot of dealing with yourself and your own emotions. A lot of us struggle with like imposter syndrome and feeling like we're not good enough.
Totally.
When we're starting, and even once we start reaching those new levels of income, right, where we're like, holy crap, like I've never made this, I've never seen this in my family. What does this mean about me? And like, tell us a little bit about like how your mindset has shifted with those challenges.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I really distinctly realized happening. One was like, I've heard it called the financial thermostat, like being able to process. Because if you would have told me, first year real estate sales, you're going to make over $250,000, I couldn't have even processed that.
Right.
Because I just wanted to be somewhat close to what I made before so that I could feel okay. Right. I would know that the kids were okay. We would know our mortgage was paid. We would know the basics, right?
Right.
So when that happened, if you would have told me that year, okay, now you can make 500. Okay, now you could do this. It's the seeing is believing kind of situation for a lot of things, where like you can't even do it because you can't even imagine it, right? Like that's the whole first part, is like your own limiting beliefs kick you so hard down from what you're able of. If I would have been able to process in my mind, you maybe could make $1 million this year, I probably would have done even better, because I think I was pumping my own brakes. When things started hitting a certain way, I'd be like, oh, I better calm down. I don't want to have too many transactions going on at once. I don't even really know what I'm doing. I was talking myself out of things.
Yeah.
And so I think that financial thermostat was one thing. I've had a hard time with guilt through success. When I see people struggling that had a similar background to me, when I have friends that I'm still, affiliated with, and they're having all these hardships, and I'm seeing, and I want to open the door to them, and maybe they don't even want to walk through it. And so then I'm like, why do I deserve this? And we were the same, and we grew up the same, and is this okay? And that was a hard thing too, because you want to have things, but you don't want to have too much. You don't want to, I think I fear greed more than like anything else. I fear changing. I fear, Dominic always jokes, he's like, we're two ghetto parents. I mean, like, we don't know that life. We don't understand our kids' experiences.
I love it.
And so we're still processing, like, it's okay to have, I didn't have a vacation for like 9 years. And we went to Hawaii and we did it big. My husband went like crazy, all out. And I felt guilty. I felt like we shouldn't be spending this money. Like, what if something happens and, people are struggling, and what should we be giving back? And so now I've realized I have to give back enough to feel okay, because that's just on my heart. Like, I have to know that I'm impacting the world in a positive way, and it's not just gluttonous.
Yeah.
But I also now understand that we've worked hard and we don't have to feel guilty about it.
Right.
And that took a little bit of time. It really did.
Yeah. No, that you really touched on something when you mentioned like the friends and like people that you've grown up with. And I as well have like, I'm from here.
Right.
You know, like this is my hometown. Well, not where we're at currently, but
In 30 minutes. This office right now.
30 minutes away from here. Like, and so I know so many people. I've grown up with so many people and I want to take them with me. And it's a whole mindset shift in ourselves, not just dealing with us and our emotions, but thinking about the emotions of others.
Yeah.
And trying to be considerate of like, oh, well, I don't want them to think I'm different. I don't want them to think that I think
You're a sellout or
that I don't want to be around them or I don't want to come to the party anymore. It's like, but I don't. Like, and I
feel like, but actually,
I don't even want to go hang out in that part of town. For sure. Like, that's okay.
Right.
It's okay for us to get to where we want to be.
To evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to not feel guilty about it.
That's it. I think it's you know, you want acceptance from people that maybe we all had our own journeys and we all have to fend for ourselves. And however we got there and whatever we did is what we did. But I don't know if you know who Ed Milet is, but he talks about like the power of one more and all those different things. But he says, he's like, you are that person in your history that changes the whole future direction of your kids' won't know that struggle because you stopped it where you're at. And so that burden is a heavy one to carry, but there's changes that need to be made in order to, I mean, you know, a lot of the stuff I was doing as a young kid because of the environment we're in was not safe. And some of those people are still doing those things, whether it be drugs, whether it be partying or shootings, there's all these different things. And it's like, I still know that life. It's not like I don't understand it. But to your point, I don't want that anymore. I don't want my kids to know it.
Right. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I still love you. I still hope the best for you. If you want to come over here, there's plenty of room for you.
That's it.
I'm happy to help you get here.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that that's been an adjustment is realizing that some people don't want a different life. Yeah. And also realizing, unfortunately, that some people would rather have their victim story than a triumph story.
Yeah.
Like that's a hard thing for me too, because it's like everything that I tell people, if they've never experienced something like that, it may seem really bad to them. But people that I grew up with had very similar, our parents were all very similar. For me, it's like, it's not a victim story for me. It really is the reason why I'm able to do the things I'm able to do. It is my fuel. It is my leverage. I know exactly what I don't want out of life, and I'm not going to do those things. Like, I don't, go party crazy. I don't have a drink from time to time, but I don't go party crazy. My kids are the most important part. Like, I will spend time with them 99% of the time. I learned all those things through that experience. I can't regret it.
Yeah.
I wasn't a victim.
It was good for your story.
It was great for my story.
A bad thing, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I feel, knock on wood, I don't want to knock on the table, but the hardest part is hopefully behind me, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, what a great way to, have life was, the rocky is behind me, Yeah. So I just think that that's really great.
Yeah. Now, have you read the book or heard of the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There?
No.
That is a good one.
Oh, I'm going to
highly recommend. I don't recall the author's name at the moment.
I'll find it.
What Got You Here Won't Get You There. That book was introduced to me right around the time that I was going through a big shift in real estate and financially and emotionally with relationships, just everything all at once. And I picked up that book, audio version.
Yeah.
And what was really impactful about it, I'm not going to give you all the things. I want to see how it, helps you. But what was really impactful about it is it kind of touches on that too. Like, if you're somebody who has come from a tough upbringing, most of us have in some degree.
Some direction.
Some worse than others.
Right.
You especially develop some personality traits or beliefs about yourself that have benefited you to get you to where you are.
Yep.
Right.
I needed that.
And that's great. But also, where do you actually want to go?
Yeah.
And that's something that, we got to really dive into as well within ourselves. And that was something that, at that point in time, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
All of these things that I developed that have helped me become successful in real estate and somebody that others can look up to and work with, is great, but this isn't actually who I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to be so money focused. At the time, that's what it
You
was.
needed it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I needed to be like thick skin and like not care about like the emotional side of myself.
Sure.
And just making it very transactional.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even though I've always had that heartwarming feeling of helping people, it's still at the end of the day, it was like a paycheck. And I was just like, how many paychecks? How much money can I make?
Yeah.
That's all I cared about. And like that was good for me then. But that got me here. That's not going to get me there. That's not going to get me where I actually want to go.
Yeah.
And so, I highly recommend anybody listening to this, pick up that book.
I love that. Yeah. I think, well, and that's such a good point because we just feel, you hear that a lot from people where they're like, that's just the way I am, take it or leave, and it's like, that's fine. Like if you are confident with what you are, like don't let anybody change you. But to your point, I don't think we acknowledge often enough that you should constantly be evolving and learning how to sharpen your being to be what you want to be. And it takes a lot of work. I think, people think, I heard in another book, it said like, people think happiness is an emotion. It's a choice. And people who have nothing who are happy, and people who have everything that are unhappy. And it's like, what's your discipline around becoming happy? How do you figure out who you are enough to say like, this fills my soul? My brother, he's like the exact opposite of me. He's a microbiologist, just super frugal, we're the exact opposite. But he said, so what's the end goal? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, what's the financial end goal? Because you guys are working a ton. Like, what's the number? And I had never even thought about that.
Wow.
And for me, I do love working. I am one of those people that like work a little bit. Kinda. I do. I think it fulfills a part of me that I know like it's always been something I knew I was good at. And so before family and all the different things, I had that. And so it's a comfort, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time I thought about the fact like we do need to figure out when we can build other things, and really, time doesn't come back. So we need to protect that as well.
Yeah. And so that's where you pay more attention to the happiness of your life. And like, feels like you have been, like you're happy doing what you're doing. And so you're not super focused on like, well, end goal, like when am I going to retire? Like stop working? Like what? Like I enjoy what I'm doing.
I don't even know how to process that. But Dominic would retire tomorrow, by the way. He's like, tomorrow at the beach, just let me know. And I'm like, well, I'll still be working, but you go enjoy the beach and then I'll meet you at 7 p.m. So that's, I tend to attract the opposite personalities to me, but
that's good to have that balance. Yeah. But no, similarly, when I, almost 2 years ago now, had a whole reset, went through bankruptcy, like I had to sit with myself and be like, man, like, what are you? And I'm generally a happy person.
Yeah.
I am. I went through being diagnosed depressed and medicated and all those things when I was a young adult.
Yeah.
Seeing what that black hole looks like and choosing to be like, no, I'm good. Like, I want to be happy. And so that means I'm going to choose. Literally, when I made that choice for my life, I was doing this weird thing that like, I don't even remember where I heard it or saw it, but it was like, anytime you have a negative thought, you have to speak aloud 3 positives. And so like that became my practice. And I started doing it like, and sometimes I would forget, right? And then I'd be like, no, like you have to do it. You have to, okay, you had a negative thought about like how you look or how smart you aren't or a problem or thinking somebody's judging you, like whatever the negative thought was. And I would literally say out loud, like, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're kind.
Oh, I love it.
And it was so weird to do, right?
At least initially, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
but then it became like second nature. And so I I looked to a lot of resources, books and Google and like all the things, religions, and like just trying to find like, how can I choose happiness for my life?
what's the secret?
Yeah. That is the secret.
Yeah, that's what I mean, that you're like looking for it, right?
Yeah.
There's a book called Relentless Solution Focus, and that's exactly what they say. They say like, you have to be relentless with finding solutions in your brain to things, and then it trains it. It's a muscle just like anything else, right? Like you understand that if you go to the gym a certain amount of months and focus on it, that your body's going to change.
Yeah.
But we don't give the same account to our brain. We don't give it's like those behaviors of the way that you've been thinking are autopilot, and you have to break them.
Yeah.
You know, and I just don't think people understand how often it's like, it sounds goofy to say like, oh, you can be happy. And they're like, oh, are you kidding? I have all these things going on. But it's like someone is happy with that or worse going on.
Yep.
And someone's unhappy with everything perfect and they're still finding the negative.
Yeah. Or with all the money, right? Like if that's the focus. And so that was what I had to go through. It was like, you're in bankruptcy, like your marriage didn't work out, like all of these things. And I felt very unhappy again for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, like how can I be happy? But how can I be happy in a way that's really sustainable and it's not tied to relationship or money or things or how many properties I own?
Yep.
And so again, like it was like starting from scratch. And I found that like at my lowest, when I had the least, I became the happiest.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, like building it back up over these last couple of years and doing the trucking company and like real estate again, I'm like, people ask me all the time, they're like, so what are your goals? Like, you know, how many houses do you want to buy this year? And like, when do you want to retire? And like, what's your passive income goal? And I'm like, I literally don't know. I don't focus on any of those things anymore. Not that you shouldn't or should or whatever. Right. It doesn't matter. Choose for your own path. But for me, I'm like, I don't have the space for that.
Yeah.
Because my happiness is so tied to the little things.
You don't need to put that pressure on yourself and then be disappointed. You can just like live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do is just live and be happy.
There was a story that I heard, and it was real. I'll do the quick version of it, but it was like these two rock stars, and one was in a band, got kicked out, had another successful band, but was never able to be happy because his past band kicked him out. And this is like real rock stars. Mm-hmm. And the other guy got kicked out of the band, ended up meeting his wife, had a happy, like normal life, and he was like moved on. And it was like your idea of success never changed, and that was the problem. Taking inventory of your success, if you have this one idea, if you never hit it, you're unhappy forever.
Yeah.
But if you always take inventory and say like, okay, what does success look like now? You can readjust your being, right? Yes. Like there's times, yes, you need to be able to pay for groceries and eat and, you know, be in a house.
Right.
But what does that really look like? Because unfortunately, if you let society decide what success is, they're going to tell you that it's more. Yeah. And you're going to be in a big old empty house with nothing that you actually really want. Yep. And so that's another thing that like as my kids are getting older, I'm like, what do I want for them? Do I want them to have all the money in the world, or do I want them to just figure out what life is for them that's going to be something that they can sleep at night and feel safe and feel fulfilled?
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like. They could be a drummer or a, you know, fast food worker.
A struggling artist.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever. Maybe. That's it. Yeah. So I think it's powerful when you do that, and it's cool that you got through that, because the growing really does come from the tough stuff. When you really go back and take inventory, you're like, the good times are fantastic.
Yeah.
But I grew the most when it was difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And real estate, like in real estate, like you said, a lot of times we're looking at what's out there. We're looking at people listening to podcasts, and we're like, oh man, that person's like making $100,000 a month, and like this person owns 87 properties, and like all of that is amazing.
Yep.
And all of us have the ability.
Oh, for sure.
To get there, especially if we're in the space of real estate and we're continually learning.
Yep.
But it's like, is that even your goal? Mm-hmm. And I previously had worked with some people who like, their thing was like, yeah, you know, I want to get you to a point where you're making $1 million a year. And I'm like, I have no desire.
Right.
I don't. I genuinely don't. I want to be good. I'm happy making, obviously paying the bills, and I want a cute little condo somewhere close to a beach, wherever that is.
Right.
I haven't decided yet. I have a beautiful condo here.
Yep.
I want to have a comfortable life where I can still travel.
Yep.
Contribute to society, volunteer, take time to go and pick up trash, whatever.
Yeah.
Like have the time freedom.
Right.
and I want to be able to provide for the kids that I may have someday.
Yeah.
That doesn't require $1 million a year.
No.
If I get there, cool. If not, like that is not my level of success for me.
And can you get there with the world that you want, right? Like, it's like, do I have to give 24 hours a day? Because I don't want to do that. Like, what's your time commitment? I think that's another thing, because I was truly a workaholic for most of my life. I didn't really have anything else. I was telling my husband, I was like, I didn't have family. So it was like, I loved working on Thanksgiving and I loved working on Christmas and I loved it because I had nothing else going on.
Yeah.
And then when I had something else going on, I'm like, I don't want to do any of those things. And I don't care how much you pay me to do that. I'll make sacrifices and I'll do what needs to be done, but I'm no longer chasing that same thing. And I think that that's cool when you can get to that point. So I'm with you. I think, finding your happiness is different for everybody, but it's cool to see you get through that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So what is next for you, do you think, in your journey in real estate? What's one of your current goals?
Yeah. I think now I'm to the point where it's like, I don't obviously know everything, but I feel confident in what I do know enough to tend to the clients that I want to tend to and really pick that. But I think my passion is really around teaching and coaching other agents and helping them to break through, because the attrition rate is so high and because people have such a hard time getting through the initial stages. I think there's only a couple reasons that people don't succeed in real estate. Maybe they don't like people as much as they thought they might. My husband fell into that. He's like, I don't really want to hang out with people all the time like that. So he does it a little differently now, but still in the real estate arena. Some people can't be self-employed. They just need a boss. The discipline, just, if they don't have to get out of bed and make somebody making them do something, they can't.
They will, yeah.
But I think the last one is just like aligning with the right people. And so now it's like, how can I help people to shorten the learning curve a little bit about what they need to know if they're passionate about helping people. But I only want to align myself with people who are really about others as well.
Yeah.
I don't need to make you help make you a bunch of money for no reason. Like, if you're not really about helping people. I've learned so much this year. Creative financing was one of those things that was a game changer for us, just learning it and understanding how to leverage it on our own. We live in a sub-2 house. We've done a lot of different things. And I just got really well-versed in assumables.
Nice.
And so that's a really cool thing. But I like learning. I think because I didn't graduate high school, I have this let me be smart or try to be kind of thing, and then teaching others with that.
Yeah, I love that.
So those are the goals.
Be smart or try to be.
Yeah, pretend to be smart. I'm like, look, there's going to be some things I'm not going to be able to help you with. I don't have a technical education or traditional education, but the things people make fun of me because I always say like a book. So it was nice to hear you tell me books back, because usually people just make fun of me. But it's like, I started with reading 52 books, and then I went to 100. And this year, I think I'm trying to go for 120 to 150. I haven't decided yet. But I think it's just the thirst to understand the world in different ways.
Yeah.
And so between meetups and mixers and just networking with other people, it's just so cool to realize that they know something that you didn't know, and you can learn from each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I love it. You're so smart. You're so.
I just thought, I'm like, I'm not smart.
Yeah, no, you're very worldly smart. I feel you have such a open outlook on life, and just continuing to be a student. I value that in anybody. Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun to get to know people. I think right now specifically, there's a lot of division for things. I think whether it's politically or whether it's financially, or there's just so many different things. I think when you really start to realize that there's kind of just two groups of people. There's people that are assholes. And there's people that are not. And they may have different views than you, and when you start to realize I'm always so curious. I'm like, you think the exact opposite of me. Why? What made you feel like that? What made you see the world like that? What experiences have you had? It kind of humanizes people in a way that makes you be able to choose them based on things that aren't so blanket statement. I just sat with a guy today that he was just telling me about his political views, and we could not be more polar opposite. But he wasn't mean-spirited. And so I was able to see, I guess if I lived this world, I could see that like that.
That it's not black and white. And understanding people's why behind everything gives you at least a level of understanding.
Yeah. Like, are you mean-spirited? Are you hateful? Or are you just in a different world where your glasses look different? It's that like unconscious bias, right? Like, how do we all see the world? And there's just no way to change it. If I'm a woman and you're a man, we may look at things different. There's nothing we can do about that. That's just the way it is. So I've had a lot of fun getting to know people in this industry to kind of understand who to navigate away from and who to kind of double down with and build those bridges.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are a part of this community.
Me too.
I'm super glad that we've had the opportunity to reconnect over the years.
Same.
And I look forward to having you at more of our mixers. So we have the one coming up.
Yes.
March 6th. I hope to see you guys there.
Be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, anything that I can do in this space to help you in your businesses and send people who want to get educated your way, like let me know so I can do that.
Yes.
Because you are one of the few real estate agents and entrepreneurs that I respect on a high level. Not that I don't respect real estate agents, but they're generally not my favorite.
I understand. I really do. I'm always like, okay, this could be a 50-50 chance that I'm going to like. And I do some great deals with people that are really amazing. I build friendships, but there are people where you're like, you'd prefer that take longer than 6 weeks of school to get this license.
Yeah.
But I love your integrity even when you're talking about like, you have your Facebook group for deal makers and you're constantly talking about the expectations of integrity and those values. And I think that that's something we need to hold each other accountable. We need to say, I'm not going to work with you no matter what the paycheck is. If I'm not doing things the right way because it tarnishes my reputation. And this is why we have a lot of these stigmas when it comes to wholesalers and real estate agents and lenders. And, all of our industry has this magnifying glass because there's some greedy people out there taking advantage of people.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's definitely something we're exploring. We're in the talks of exploring a blacklist.
Ooh.
So, we're building the community. We're creating a space.
That's amazing.
For trusted, verified people who are going through our whole system to get verified.
Yeah.
And with that, already I personally have a short list.
We did,
but let me know if you want me to email it. But as I'm speaking with more people, those who I feel to be trusted and proven to be, not just from my own emotion, but, we're actually looking into referrals and past deals. And we want to understand who these people are.
Yeah.
In engaging with them, we're learning where they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this person hey, and so I want to put together just some kind of
that's awesome.
I don't know if you will mediation. They're like mediation. Let's start with mediation first. Let's look at the details because I'm not the type to just be like, oh, you say that person's bad, that person's bad. No, I want
court robes and
you're banished from the community. Let's sit here in the podcast, and they have to come in before all of us as judges.
The big light.
I love it. And we call them out on their shit.
Yeah.
Hey, so this is word on the street that you're doing this, and this, and hey, we're it's not cool. So we're putting together the idea.
I love
that we would send out on a newsletter, email to everybody in the community. Hey, these are the people who.
That's awesome.
Don't meet the standard.
Well, yeah, because you talk to so many people and they say oh, this person owes me $250,000 and this. I mean, it's not little bits of money. It's not a little oh, they were kind of rude this one time. I mean, there's people out there just working the system, whether it be flippers or contractors or realtors or wholesalers, just people that are just doing these things. And again, it's there is enough business to go around to not have to do people dirty. You honestly will make more money doing it the right way. It's so ironic to me.
I know.
You burned one person and now you can't work in this area for 9 years.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who you are. That's so weird.
Yep.
Quick payday.
Or you make less money. There's so many deals that I've done that people are like, I wouldn't waste my time. And I'm like, I wasted my time because I wanted to get the deal done. I wanted to help the seller. I wanted to actually get the property for the investor or whatever.
Right.
And I've done deals. The day of my wedding, I did a deal the day of my, I'm not exaggerating. Literally, I woke up that morning and I had to call the insurance company and the bank to validate all of this information. The guy ended up trying to screw me, the seller tried to screw me out of $26,000 from an insurance check that was supposed to come to us. Long story, I made $750 on that deal. And the people I was working with, the investor who ended up buying that off of me, was like, why would you waste your time on this? And I'm like, because I decided to get this done.
That's right.
Like for you and for the seller. You know, the seller tried to screw me. Like
Right.
still, my reputation, what I think of me and how I sleep at night is way more important than how much I'm making on each deal.
And if you do things in that momentum, in that thought process, there are those attaboy deals too, right? Like there are times where I'm like, I kind of feel guilty because I just made a lot of money off of this and I didn't really do anything. Yeah, like there's times where I'm like, I've earned every penny of everything I get for the next year because of this. Yeah. And then there's times where I'm like, this was my good karma, I guess. Like, I don't know, this one was pretty easy. So I think that's the whole thing too, is taking the paycheck out of it as much as possible to understand that like your reputation, like you said, like this is such a small industry for as many people are in it to where a small percentage is the deal makers. They're like the top 20% up to the top 2% for a lot of those people. And you get to know people pretty quickly through reputation.
Small world.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love that blacklist. I'm so excited, guys.
Still putting the details together. I don't know how much stuff I want to stir up in the community.
I got your back. Let me know. Me and Dominic will roll deep right
Oh, yeah. I know that's true. I know that.
Again, we are ghetto parents raising bougie kids. Somebody was telling me the other day, like, you can't use that word ghetto. And I was like, oh, no, I can.
You're like,
You may not be able to, but I promise you I can.
like if you knew where we came from.
Yes, I'm allowed. Trust me.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for being here, Shantelle.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. I'm glad that I personally got a chance to know more about you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
History. Yes, thank you. How can we find you? Anyone who's watching and wants to connect with you?
Yes. So probably the easiest way, you just want to go old school, Google Alexander Company. You can look me up and then it has my email on there. It has my phone number on there. My phone number is public. So you can literally call or text me. People do it all the time for anything. And I do like that because I'm able to just kind of build those connections with people. So people call me from interior design, staging, real estate needs, but coaching, anything that you need, I would love to help, especially, like I said, I'll just give the caveat that, try to be a good person before you call this way because I can smell the BS from pretty far now. You will be called. You will be called. You will be on a blacklist that's being created. No. But yeah, I think, just looking us up and being able to, any way that we can help, we're truly excited about bringing a great caliber of people in on this next rung as, people kind of mass exodus the last, I think, couple of years. There's always going to be more coming in, and we just want to help to elevate the bar.
Yeah, I love it. So Alexander Company. Yes.
Yep.
Awesome.
So you can Google us. You'll see our reviews. You'll see all the stuff, and then our emails and phone numbers are on there.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Beyond the Deals. Until next time.